Education is a new film to come out straight to HBO. It stars Hugh Jackman as a man named Frank Tassone. He is the superintendent in the Roslyn, New York school district, and he's doing a great job there. As far as like ranking goes, he's got them up to number 4, and they could quickly jump up to number 1 soon because he's got a lot of interesting projects to put forth for the school. Everyone loves him, his peers, the community. Everyone thinks he's doing a great job, and by all means, he does care about these kids. And it really shows that he does with what he does in the movie, but suddenly, it seems that some money has gone missing, which is obviously bad timing for the school who is doing so well right now. And as soon as they discover this thing, more and more things get discovered throughout that have been going on for quite some time now that has been covered up by the people, and it makes for a really crazy story based on a true story. I had heard about this movie when it premiered at some film festivals. I recognized Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney were in it, so that was exciting. They're great actors. I'm sure they're going to pick some good material to work with, but I immediately got kind of hooked because of Corey Finley being the director. The last movie he made was Thoroughbreds, and if you haven't seen Thoroughbreds, please check it out because it is a really good movie, one that I found really interesting and that I enjoyed and thought was really dark but really good. So knowing that he was the one who was directing this movie, it made me more interested to see it and see if it could maybe be better than Thoroughbreds, see how he was going to progress as a filmmaker. Hopefully he doesn't get like a sophomore slump like Thoroughbreds start out really good, but then, oh no, Bad Education, that was kind of bad. I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case. I was really interested to see this movie, and I didn't really get deterred because HBO picked it up. I know some people might have like, oh, it's going straight to TV, so maybe that's bad. And I will admit, I was kind of surprised by that because I thought maybe this movie might try to angle for like Oscar award season, go to some theaters. But since Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu and all these other streaming services are able to put out good movies to stream instantly, I don't think it's that far of a stretch that HBO could do the same. I'm not familiar with a lot of HBO original films, but I did see The Tale 2 years ago, and that was really good. So I don't think just because this movie comes out straight to like a TV channel, that means it's automatically going to be bad. This movie also wasn't really made to be straight to TV. It just kind of instantly was picked up by HBO that way. If it's like a Lifetime movie or like a Hallmark movie, then chances are that's probably going to be real bad, unless it's the show You. Which isn't a movie, but it's really well made, and it used to be on like Hallmark or Lifetime, something like that. And luckily this movie turned out to be really good. I had a really great time watching it. It was really interesting. This stuff happened around like 2002, 2004, sometime around there, and obviously I was really young. I had no idea of this story, but it's the largest embezzlement scandal for like a city public school. So that automatically makes for an interesting kind of scenario to have a screenplay written about, but what's going to make that screenplay more interesting is how you write it, the execution that goes into it, the details for the people involved. And I thought Mike Wachowski, the screenwriter, did a really great job of laying everything out, kind of setting the stages earlier on, like everyone loves these people, look at how great they are, and then slowly things start to come out, and just like one by one, you're kind of like, oh, like it's kind of like a gradual progression of, oh, I can't believe this was going on. I can't believe that was going on too. Oh no, more stuff has been going on. And you can tell that Mike Wachowski has a real connection with this because he was in middle school around the time this stuff was going down, if I remember reading that correctly, which obviously is really great that the guy from the school was able to come in and write the screenplay about the like scenario that was publicized like very widely. Like that's really cool for him. But he also just does a really great job at writing a really engaging movie based on a true story, but it doesn't feel boring or like just like, oh, well, it just feels like a Wikipedia synopsis. It feels like you are being engrossed with the situation, with the characters, and it helps that you have a really great cast backing this up too. Hugh Jackman is on fire as Frank Tassone. He is wonderful in this movie because the movie opens up and you feel like this guy could be your actual superintendent because he comes in, he remembers everyone, he kind of, like, they show he like goes over a lot of people's names, so he remembers certain people, but his past students, he remembers exactly who they were, what they wanted to be. His current students, he makes an effort to try to get to know them, say hello all the time, big smile on his face, he tries to do stuff for them all the time. He just comes across as just a genuine, nice guy. A lot of times when you're probably in school, you just look at teachers or administrators being nice and like, okay, that's really fake. But it kind of made me second guess that, like, well, maybe not, because this movie shows a side of those people that actually seem to genuinely care about what's going on and don't just see this as, well, I'm stuck at working at a school. But this character gets more and more complex as the movie goes on. At first, they drop like a few vague details, and that was kind of my issue at first. I was like, I wish they showed a little bit more of what his home life was before, you know, all this stuff is starting to go down. But then I realized, like, oh, this is all purposeful. It's kind of methodically revealing about his character because the more the movie goes on, the more stuff is revealed to the point where it almost feels like you're not even watching the same person anymore. Like, it is the same person. I'm not saying Hugh Jackman, like, changed characters or the tone was off. I'm saying, like, because you're learning new stuff about him, he's acting the exact same way he always has. It's just now that you know these things, it makes you see the performance in a different way. And I thought, combined with Hugh Jackman's wonderful work, combined with the screenplay, they really made something really interesting for this character. I'm really glad that we were able to follow him in such an interestingly way. I'm glad that it was structured the way it was. Because if it was structured like, okay, right off the bat, you know exactly what this guy is all about, it probably might have made for a less interesting movie. The fact that they did it the way they did, I was like, okay. At first, I thought that you had just kind of forgotten to give him more of like of his own like private life. But now I see, okay, this is all intentional, and that's good. But even then, like, once you start to see more stuff about the guy, and you think like, well, I'm looking at a completely different person. I don't even know how to feel about this anymore. No spoilers, but they give him another scene where they also kind of get you into the mindset of, hey, here's kind of my thinking process. And it was kind of like, you know what? That is a way to look at it. I don't want to instantly hate this man like I thought I did a couple minutes ago, because he has this mindset that's kind of warped, and it's like a huge lapse in many judgments. But it's kind of like, because he's laid it out, I can't see myself questioning like, how dare you do that? I wouldn't do this. It's kind of like, you know what? I can see where someone could reach this point in their life. It's a very complex character that Hugh Jackman plays wonderfully. His performance is very layered. It has multiple different ranges as far as how he comes off or how he's hiding himself from the other characters in this film. It's a wonderful character study of people that genuinely seem to care about the job that they're doing and the people that they're impacting, and they genuinely seem like they don't really care about what they get out of it. But then there's also that mindset of, well, I could be doing a little bit better too. Or the ways that people think that they have to strive to be perfect all the time. They have to put on a perfect appearance 24/7, or else they're going to be slipping, or people are going to think less of them, or just they'll look bad in general. It's an interesting character study in that regards, and Hugh Jackman's character Frank Tassone is just wonderful to follow. Geraldine Viswanathan, who plays like an amalgamation character of several different student reporters for like the school paper, and she does a really great job in this movie too. They give her a little bit of a side story with her dad that kind of explains, for this made-up character, it kind of explains why she's kind of driving so hard to get this story told, to dig a little deeper into what's going on. I do wish that there was just a couple more details kind of explored in that side story, maybe just give her a little bit more of a presence, but still, they did a really great job of making this amalgamation character. A lot of based on a true story movies do like amalgamation characters just to kind of like hone in on like one specific thing that that the filmmakers are trying to convey to the audience. Recently they did that with Bombshell, Margot Robbie's character, and Mark Wahlberg in Patriots Day is an amalgamation character. It's been done several times before, and sometimes some people might be like, that's like lying, and I don't really think that. I mean, it is technically, but like for servicing the movie, it helps to convey a message better. Because sometimes when you're adapting like a book or based on a true story, you have to make certain changes so it can feel more cinematic or feel like it can fit the narrative, instead of just, oh, well, now this is another character that's just kind of boring, but they contribute in this way, and here's another character that's just kind of boring, but they contribute in this way. It's better to just like combine it, and I thought they did a good job here for Geraldine Viswanathan. Allison Janney is also wonderful in this movie. She's another one who is very fascinating to follow, the picture-perfect kind of mindset that she has that's interesting to kind of examine. Like, they give her like a quick scene that kind of shows you more of the mindset of like why she's doing certain things in this movie. I do wish that they maybe focused a little bit more on other members of her family, because I thought that was a little lacking, that maybe they could have added just a little bit more to get you more into their situation, because they do, but then they kind of, it feels like they almost kind of forget about it and they kind of just move forward with other things. And I wish maybe they just kind of let the family situation with her just kind of breathe a bit more. And Ray Romano is also really great in this movie too. I know a lot of people are talking about this as like the resurgence of Ray Romano, and that's wonderful because he had The Irishman last year, and he was in The Big Sick, which is a wonderful movie that he's in. He was in a Netflix movie, Paddleton, which I've heard great things about. So I know a lot of people have already talked about the resurgence of Ray Romano, but it is something that is still wonderful to celebrate. He does a really great job in this movie as well. There's one scene in particular where it feels like he's like truly crushed, and it's like, oh, wow, Ray Romano, like he's really good. I'm glad to see him in a recent film that isn't an Ice Age movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say. He's actually in a movie and not a corporate cash grab that doesn't really care like Ice Age. So this is a really well-made movie by Corey Finley. There's a lot of great cinematography moments. There's great structuring of the script, how certain things are revealed. They do a really great job of getting you invested from the beginning with these characters, with these great performances, all the way to the end, and seeing how their characters change and how they progress throughout the film. Sometimes when you have a movie that's about people on a high and then they start to gradually kind of go to a really epic low, it might feel maybe just too familiar for some people, maybe a little cliche, but I was completely invested in what was going on, so I didn't think, oh, this is just kind of whatever to me. Like, I was completely invested and kind of worried for the characters, even though some of them might be a little scummy. They took an interesting approach to how they wanted to do the final scene. I really like how they made that final scene, and I like what that final scene overall means and how it kind of wraps up Frank Tassone as a person. Getting that mindset once again, that final little dose. I thought they really handled it really well, despite some details that I thought they could have fleshed out a little bit more with some other characters. I thought this movie was really strong. And also, the composer for this movie, the score, it was done by Michael Abels, who did Us and Get Out, which is wonderful. He's a great composer, but I was surprised that he did it because this wasn't a horror movie or it wasn't a Jordan Peele film. I thought for sure it was the guy who did Thoroughbreds, Eric Friedlander. But no, it was Michael Abels, and he did a really great job. I'm gonna give Bad Education an A-. It's definitely worth your time. Very interesting movie. Very fascinating character study for these people that at first you might just say, well, they're scumbags and that's that. But if you really want the time to get to know people like this, try to get their mindset and try to understand where it all kind of traces back to, I thought this movie did a really great job of that, and the performers are wonderful. I know it's early for Oscar season, and this isn't a movie that's probably gonna be up for any Oscars because it went to HBO, but Hugh Jackman for Best Actor, maybe, because this is one of my favorite male performances of the year, that and Ben Affleck in The Way Back, but I think I might prefer Hugh Jackman just a bit more. He's got some really wonderful scenes, so there's that. But if you've seen Bad Education, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.